Welcome to the Builder Hacks Podcast, your go-to destination for cutting-edge strategies, time-tested systems, and invaluable insights to revolutionize your construction business and elevate your life. Join your hosts, Nate Piper and Keith Meals, seasoned contractors who are not just in the trenches, but are also pioneering the future of the industry through Concord University. In each episode, we dive deep into the minds of the industry's most accomplished building professionals, uncovering their secrets to success and sharing actionable tips to help you thrive. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, our goal is to empower you to build a brighter future for yourself and for America. Tune in, level up, and let's build a better tomorrow together. This is the Builder Hacks Podcast. Build your future, building America. So you went to junior college then?
Went to junior college. I failed speech. Like, I failed it in high school. I failed it twice in junior college. And then, and I didn't really, I was there to play football. I wasn't there to be educated, right? And so my motivation was different. What they were wanting me to learn and what I was there to do were two different things. So I did the bare minimum again, and in the education department. And this is where it's weird. It's like, they want me to learn stuff, and it's like, I don't really want to learn that. That's not what I want to learn.
If it was the thing you wanted to learn, you're all over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like, so I would go through the
sports,
motions.
you'd have been in there in a heartbeat. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the film room. I was, doing drills. I was in the weight room. I was engaged in everything that I wanted, right? And everything that they were saying that I had to do to get to the thing that I wanted, I would do, but it wouldn't be. I wasn't getting a benefit out of it. And so I got through that. And then I did a transfer out to UNLV in Las Vegas, where I had some family out there, and my aunt and my uncle and all that. And he had a construction business out there as well. And he built a lot of apartment complexes and condos and things of that nature. So
is that where you got, so did you get, when you went out there, did you get re-engaged in that industry or brought into that industry at that point or not?
Well, yes and no. So as an entrepreneur, I've always had 4 or 5 different things of making money along the way. And there's always been a construction piece a part of this, right? Even in high school, even in junior college and everything else. I mean, I remember like right after high school, I had 3 jobs. I had one working at the airport, throwing bags. I had another one that was a transportation piece where I was driving people around. This was before Uber and all that. I had a big old van and I would drive people around. And then I also had my like little, construction remodeling kind of thing where I'd fix fences and patch doors and, help build this and that and worked around. I remember I had a skid loader there for a while, and I'd run dirt around and had a dump truck and, I always had something engaged in the physical aspect, because I understood one of the biggest components to kind of like elevating yourself through is doing physical work, right? And I knew I either had to have skills or I had to have muscle, right? And I was like, well, if I don't have skill, I got to use the muscle. And so that's where I got in, and I just kept doing these things. And it was these handyman jobs. It was the low end stuff that nobody wanted to do. I remember one time I went around and I scooped up poo out of like everybody's backyard for all the dogs. And I was like, okay, well,
I actually had a business around that, Nate. So I didn't tell you about that one, but I actually had a business where I was the person doing that for people.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always looking for these opportunities. It's like, okay, well, if that's an opportunity, then I'm going to do it. Right. I never said like, oh, that's beneath me, or no, I can't do that job, or what have you. So I was always kind of doing that, even through college. And then I transferred out to Las Vegas, and that was a different challenge because, trying to do walk-on, play sports. I had a job working as a valet parker. I had a job working at the hospital. I had a job working for my uncle and going to school. I'm just always, trying to stuff my day full, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm learning stuff from each one of these. Like valet parking was really great because I had a lot of customer service experience, and I kind of got to dive into the corporate model of casinos and understand the inner working of casinos. Right. And then I'm working at a hospital, so I'm understanding the customer service centers of hospitals, and how does that work? And how does this industry work? And, and then I was working and doing, trim packages and laying out trim and doing door casings and baseboards and all that, in apartment complexes, right? So I'm getting exposed to a bunch of these different areas. And of course, I'm taking classes, and I failed speech again at UNLV. So I failed at high school, I failed twice at junior college, and I failed once at UNLV.
Nate is consistent, if nothing else.
Yeah, I'm like solid. Like, I know what I can do, and I know what I can't do. But it doesn't matter. I keep trying at the things that I can't do and keep going.
Exactly. You get better every time.
Yeah, why not? I'm not going to take no for an answer just because I failed once or twice. Here I am on a podcast. Yeah, maybe I'm going to fail at this too, but who cares? I'm going forward.
Exactly. You never know until you put it out there.
That's it. And I'm not scared to. I'm not scared to put myself out there. And that's another key thing. Don't be scared to put yourself out there. Put it out there. It's not for you to decide whether you're good or not.
And when you say that, one of the biggest things, and this is for anyone who's listening to this, and especially if you've got like family or friends who are like, you've got to be doing whatever you're doing now, or they've got the path laid out for you if you're coming out of school, that you've got to go to college, or you've got to, the one thing to always look at is so many people make decisions in their life based on what other people are going to think.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest things for so many people to get past. So if you can forget about what other people think and do what's going to be best for you. So, and for those you care about and for those around you. So that's the best thing you can do. So on your end, because, and look at it this way. And I heard this from Alex Hormozy. So is that one of the people that I go ahead and listen to. And he actually said, you know what, in 300 years, so I'm going to be dead. And all the people who are voicing an opinion right now are going to be dead too. So if it's not going to matter then, why should it matter now for what they say? So do not let what someone else is saying stop you from doing what you want to do. And unless it's against the law. I mean, we do have a line there somewhere. But other than that, I don't know someone else's opinion.
I don't know. Depends on what law it is. At least that's my opinion, right? Like, I still struggle with seatbelts.
I've bent a few towards my favor. Yes.
I still struggle with seatbelts. I'll just put that up, But then, while I was in college, I also got to go and get indoctrinated into the same home building company that you got indoctrinated by. And so it's like I had skills.
Did you get your pin?
I did get my pin.
Did you?
Yeah, I learned that song really well, and it was not by choice; it was by force, and it was like every day.
It was for us too. Trust me, I understand.
Stand up in front of the trailer and let's repeat this.
Oh, you did yours at the trailer? They had us do it at one of the events, like one of the quarterly events where everybody was together in the room.
Well, we did that, but then my CM made me do it in front of him and the other guys every morning, right? Because I kept screwing it up and I couldn't do it right. And he was like, nope,
gotcha.
Get back up there. We're going.
It's like, I failed speech. What do you expect?
Exactly. I'm like, I keep messing this thing up. He was like, you messed up let's go back through. It's like, man, what? But anyways, it was a great learning experience because it gave me a different perspective. And I understand it like, what is the interactive or the interaction between this trade and that trade and how this thing, I knew my piece, right? Like I had hauled shingles onto roofs. I had painted apartment complexes. I had swept up big construction warehouses. I had laid flooring. I had done plumbing. I had installed windows. Like I had done all of these things.
Yep.
Growing up in high school for, my family, my friends and family, and I did it all. But then to see how does it tie all together into working systems inside of a building.
Starts bringing it all together for you.
Yeah. I mean, it like, it's kind of like when the Matrix, right? When Neo opens up and he's like, oh, wow, this is what the real world looks like, right? And it's not all pretty sunshine and rainbows, but it's kind of like dark and dingy, but you understand like, oh, this is real. That's make-believe. And you're supposed to make the real stuff look make-believe and kind of go through that. So it was an eye-opening thing. and it made sense. And so that's kind of where I dove into that understanding. And then I went ahead and quit that
So
job.
were you going to school for anything around construction, Nate, or what were you going to school for?
No, I was going to school for business, for
Okay.
business administration and business marketing. And
Okay.
I'm 12 hours short of my degree.
Which you use every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm 12 hours short of my degree. And so,
Oh, are you? Okay.
yeah. And I have no intention to go back. And
Right.
that's it.
So, I mean, it's the same thing. We've talked about that before. I mean, I'm the same way as far as that part goes. Went to college and stepped away. So, because it wasn't the right thing for me. And I know there's so many people, especially in this industry.
Yeah.
So, where that has definitely been what it is. And the one thing I think about whenever I look at those pieces is, what was the reason why, or what's the similarity why so many people I know in construction have been successful in owning businesses, that they stepped away from, even if they went down that route, stepped away and stepped out and decided to go a different path then? What was there a point whenever you did that you looked at and said, this just isn't for me? Was there something that clicked so that made you make a choice, or was it just something that happened?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't there. I wasn't there for the right reasons, right? I went there because I wanted to be an athlete. And then I got to a point where I knew that I wasn't going to be that athlete. Like I went to a few combines. I went and practiced with different teams and realized that my athletic ability was good enough to be in there, but I wasn't the guy that they were looking at being that person. Like my demeanor didn't fit with their culture, right? Like, and I get it. Like I didn't understand it then. I understand it now. Like,
right.
They wanted a Tom Brady type of person, right? And
Right.
as I was coming out, he was coming out, but they didn't even want Tom Brady. You know,
So
they
he lasted until the 6th round. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they didn't even want a Tom Brady. They wanted like a John Elway. They wanted like a Troy Aikman. They wanted a solid, individual, and I didn't fit that.
I can't miss prospect, right?
Right, and I didn't fit their prospecting. Had the arm, had the ability, had the talent, had the footwork, had all these different things, but I didn't fit into their box of what they were looking for. And I realized it, and I had a hard conversation, uh, with the head football coach, and it was just kind of like one of those things, like, I need to find a different path. And once that kind of came into, then it was like, okay, well, I don't need to go to college anymore because that's not there for me, right? And so I went on and I said, well, if I'm not going to be a star athlete, I want to be a gajillionaire. And where do people
I want to make more money than the star athlete makes.
Yeah, I want to. I said, well, hell, if they're not going to take me as an athlete, then I want to be a franchise owner of an NFL team.
Exactly.
And the only way I get that is if I got a gajillion dollars, right? So how do I make a gajillion dollars? And it was like, so my mentality is a little out there. I'm just warning you guys. Like, I think a little bit differently. It's like I don't have guardrails.
Well, and the one thing that you look at, though, and this is one of the interesting pieces, though, is the people that I know, so that I've talked to, who are business owners who have been successful at it. The reason why they get there is because they're not that person that thinks in the box. They think what so many people in call it the regular world, would say, they're in a dream world. So they're not thinking, logically. They're way past reality is what it comes down to. And here's the thing to take away from that. Everyone's watching it. Realize that. So the people who are successful are the people who dream way bigger than anyone ever thinks is possible. And when they're calling you crazy, you're in the right spot.
That's it.
So that's when you know you're on the right path.
I mean, how many like early 20-year-olds are like, all right, if you're not going to take me, then I'm just going to become the owner of the NFL team. And I already know which NFL team I wanted to buy into. And I'm like, I want to go get that team, and I want to do this. And I'm like, all right, you're a little bit outside your ring, but it didn't matter to me. So then I transitioned. I was like, well, I want to be in finance, right? And then I was like, well, the people that go to the stock market make a lot of money. I'm going to go there. And so that was the next venture, and realized fairly quickly, I am not a stockbroker. I can make picks. I can go through the process. but I can't live their lifestyle. I can't be in the box. I can't wear the tie. I can't do the 19,000 phone calls a day and then turn around and go to the bar and just pound, shots, and then end up at a ladies joint, try to pick up on girls and all this. Like I couldn't live that lifestyle. That wasn't me. That was
right.
I did it for, a while and it felt icky. I didn't like myself. I didn't like the process. I didn't like any of it. And, it was just a lot of hardships, right? And I'm trying to figure out who am I, right? Because my whole identity has been tossed out the window. My identity was like, I'm a star athlete. That was my identity. And I'm a star athlete who's also a hustler. So that was a hard combination and trying to like figure those pieces out. And that's like, okay, you're not doing your 19 businesses and you're not being an athlete. And so who are you? Right. And
where do I fit in? Clue. Right.
Lost, completely lost. And about this time, there was a hurricane that hit and I'm trying to figure out life and all this. And I'm hating where I'm at. And, I get a phone call and it's like, hey, we got this hurricane. Do you know anybody that, can come down and help and be a part of this? And I said, well, I'm tired of where I'm at. Let me come on down for a weekend. And went down there and something happened to me, right? It's kind of like your dream that you had where you wake up and you're like, and it's so vivid and so real, right? Well, something happened to me when I got down there and this was like total destruction, chaos. There's everything's like a war zone kind of component, right? Like nothing's working.
Literally. Right.
And there was this peace and this calm that kind of like, oh, this is intriguing, but yet this is where you're supposed to be. And, I'm 3 days into it, waist high and mud and slush and crap and trees and all kinds of things, challenges galore, didn't have water, didn't have food, didn't have, and I fell in love. Right. And it's a different type of love than what I've experienced because it was a love that I had like true passion for, right? Like I had a love for football, right? And I had love for baseball and I had love for playing basketball and doing these things. But having that passion, that love, that feeling of accomplishment and the thing that I was doing was something like I never experienced before. And I'd been in construction and I had worked on thousands of projects and
so why do you think it was different that time?
I think it was watching the transformation was really the thing that got to me. Because later on in life, you learn things as you got to go through life and you kind of, look backwards in a rearview mirror and be like, what did happen there? And but I think it was the transformation, watching something that had been destroyed by nature, right? Like, it's not like you got into a car accident, just like, oh, that's one thing. No, we're talking blocks and miles of devastation where it just like wiped it all out. Right. And you sit back and you look at this stuff from a perspective of like, there's something bigger than me in this world that can do this kind of damage, right? Whether you believe in the universe or you believe in God or you just believe in Mother Nature as a whole and it's all working together or whatever your beliefs are. When you come on to something like that, you realize how small you are as an individual. And then you see the transformation that happens from this destruction that wiped us out to getting it cleaned up, to then getting it rebuilt back into a better condition than what it was. And you see that transformation that happens not only in the physical structure, but also in the person who had it happen to. And you get this overwhelming feeling of like, this is awesome. And it grabbed hold of me and says, this is what you need to do. And so
so you're saying you almost felt like you were called. So is what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, because what I was doing before, I was completely miserable. I was making some cash and more cash than I probably should have in my early mid-20s. But, I wasn't doing the appropriate things with it. I was spending it like crazy. And I still remember I'd made my first $1 million before I was 23, and I had spent $2 million before I was 24. So how do you want to look at that life, you know? And
well, if you're the United States of America, you look at that as a normal day at the office.
yeah, oh yeah, you know, like sign me up, Congress, I can do that job, you know. But you know, those are the life lessons, and that's what kind of grabs me in. And then it just began, right? And then I didn't fight the process. I didn't argue with it. I wasn't competing with it. I just got into alignment with it. And then it was like, okay, where are the things that work and where are the things that don't work? I'll tell you the thing that didn't work. Waking up at 8 a.m. did not work. Because by the time you got to the job site at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, you had a ton of problems. And it was just problems all day long for the rest of the day and into the evening and playing catch up. Then I learned how to get ahead of the 8 ball, right? Like, how do I get so far ahead of it that I'm doing the night before stuff before the morning even came? So now how do I get ahead of these pieces, right? And I started figuring these things out that worked for me. And I did the physical labor on most of our jobs, you know, throughout my 20s. I moved up into management pretty fast and was kind of like managing projects, but I never wanted to just be a manager. So I always was like in the trenches with the guys. And a lot of it's because I just did it as a kid and it was just like second nature. I just dive in, get my hands dirty.
Right.
I know that that's not for everybody, and every manager that I've trained after that, it's like, no, once I'm at this level, I'm supposed to be, you know, delegating. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. Me personally, I loved being in the trenches. I loved doing the work. I loved getting my hands dirty.
You know, it's still, you know, I look at that as the paradoxical part of it, because if you talk to the business owners and things like that, most business owners would still get out there and do whatever it was. And it's part of it. And this is a lesson for everybody. When you want to go to that next level, you do whatever it is that needs to be done. You know, and I've had that conversation, and, you know, especially coaching entrepreneurs for, 15 years now. Part of that conversation is you need to be doing what's your highest and best use, what's going to be the maximum ROI for you, your business, so the team that you've got and everything. And there's times where I'm the same way, Nate, still to this day. So you'll walk on a job site and you'll see a broom in my hand because I got there and the job site wasn't clean the way I want it to be clean, which means that I'm going to make it that way because my homeowner may be the next person in, or someone who's looking at my project in the future, and or my trades when they get there. If they walk into a messy job site, well, they don't have to worry about cleaning it up because it wasn't clean when they got here. Yeah. So you step in and you do what needs to be done. And that's where most successful people will do those same things without thinking twice. Whereas you get the managers a lot of times will be like, that's not my job anymore. That's somebody else's job. So, and it's a key. Look at that. If you're looking to be successful, always do more. And there's no job that is beneath you. There's no question about that. It's whatever needs to be done for this business to succeed is what your job is.
And there's so many times that I've seen, and I know the managers that will become owners and the managers that will always be managers, right? And you, once you've been through this cycle so many times, you're able to identify these pieces. But it really comes down to the people that have extreme ownership in everything that they do end up rising, that cream rises to the top, and then they become the owners that then have all the rest of the pieces. And if some people just want to be managers and that's where they're comfortable in life, then that's awesome. That's it. You know,
that works. That's what makes you happy. Then do that. That's fine.
Yeah, for me, I still love getting out and going on a job site. And I always love finding a young guy, and they're always scared of me when I jump on the job site. So they run around, they're busy and they're doing busy work.
Gotta look busy. The owner's here.
Yeah, the owner's here. Do something, no. And so I get over there and I go, come on, come with me. Let's look at this. What are you doing? Let's make sure that we're in alignment here. And I want to make sure, well, show me how to do this. And then he'll show me his process. And I'm like, okay, that's good, but let me give you a trick. Let me show you something else. Let me extend this out to you so that you have a better way of doing this, or just a different way in case something comes up in the future. And I physically get in there and I show them how I do it. And I work with them hand in hand, just because I want them to understand, like, this is bigger than me. This isn't about me. This is about you. And I'm giving you an opportunity, and I want you to have that opportunity, but I want you to be as the most successful that you can be in that opportunity. And to do that, you need someone that's going to guide you, that's been there before you, and you need someone that you can learn off of. So I always love being able to go out on job sites and kind of go through those pieces, because that's what makes the difference.
And you're right. That makes the huge difference, and especially in this industry. And it's like, if you're thinking, if anyone who's out there right now, you're like, hey, I don't know what I want to do. Am I going into a change in my life, and I'm gonna make a different choice about something? Like working with someone like Nate, doing those types of things like that, who wants to get out there and actually show you the skills and the processes and the way that it can be done. So in the way that in Nate's case has worked for decades now,
Yeah.
with his businesses. So of going ahead and creating those pieces, but getting with someone who's got the experience and literally being able to work hand in hand, and whether you want to call that apprenticing with them, because it really isn't, but he's learning, he's mentoring, he's coaching them. So
Yeah.
along that process. So this is the time to be able to do that. Because of the fact that there's still a lot of people like Nate that are out there. The challenge is, if you're thinking about ever getting into construction, now's the time to do that, because a lot of them are starting to get to the point where they're starting to step away.
Yeah.
And then we start losing that knowledge. And I know that's one of the pieces for us of why we do what we're doing. And I know it's what drives you in your businesses.
Well, it's one of those things that just kind of helps drive. I mean, when you start looking at like, I probably know how to hang doors like 30 different ways. And you're like,
Right.
there's 30 different ways to hang doors? Yeah, they're all, and it's like, if you only know one or two or three, then
Yeah.
you're just kind of like, you're left with that. It's like,
Mhm.
you're going to find that architects draw things really well. And then to be able to implement what they've drawn is something completely different, because walls aren't straight. They're not 90-degree angles.
Yeah.
And you got to get doors and door frames in and move things. And this is like all the different systems, right? And so learning these different tricks will help you when these things come up, right? So that you're trying to figure these things out. And so that's what I try to do. I try to help them know different ways of doing things so that they have an understanding of like, nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. You just have to have the right knowledge to be able to implement it at the right time. And so
Always.
that's
All
kind
right,
of,
so you came down, to get back into where your story was. You came
yeah,
down for the hurricane. So we're fixing things. So
yeah,
cleaning up after the hurricane and putting everything back together.
yeah,
So
did that.
you were working for somebody else then, right? Or was this your own piece at
No,
that point?
I ended up getting with another guy, and then I worked for him, and then we became partners. And
Okay.
then that became our thing. And we did that. I did that for a while. Me and him
Mhm.
had a business for about 4 years, 5 years together. And during that time, I
Okay.
also became an insurance adjuster and an insurance appraisal person. And
Mhm.
so I would be doing other pieces. Became a master in water damage and motor mediation and structural
Mhm.
engineering. I kind of went back to school and kind of learned some of those pieces and kind of put that back in. So during that time frame, I was doing jobs and learning at nighttime, because this is kind of like my thing.
Yeah. It's the
I had
process. Well, it's the process for everybody.
yeah, I had had my first kid, and the relationship, kind of went away because I was spending so much time learning business and doing things that I wasn't paying attention
Mhm.
to family life. And for those of you
Yep.
guys that are out there, this is kind of common. Like, things happen in
Yeah.
life,
It's
right?
it's it's very common in the industry. Yeah.
And you got to be able to kind of like know what you're doing and kind of make choices and decisions. But at the end of the day, I made the right decision by being able to maintain, my future knowledge in industry so that I could provide for him. And we
Mhm.
worked through some of these things. I mean, you're never always going to pick out the perfect mate. And if you don't, then, you have these struggles and things that you have to go through. And here's the other part. There's a ton of people that are out here going through the same thing, right? So
Yep.
not everybody
Tons.
picks the high school sweetheart and makes down the white picket fence road and has all of the things. Like, that's the lie that Disney has sold us. And I love Disney, but that's a lie. The woman has a lie, the man has a lie. We as
Uh-huh.
society believe the lie, but it doesn't always happen that way. So you have to be able to be
Nope.
adaptable, and you have to do what's right for you so that you can do what's right for the
Mhm.
family. And I'm a firm believer in, a man should do what a man has to do to be able to provide, even if it
Always.
means suffering for himself in order to provide
Mhm.
forward. But we can get into that in other episodes. But I had a child, raising him in different locations, trying to be a good father, but also trying to, have a business and
Mhm.
go through development. So I had a lot of free time at night to be able to read books and kind of go through those pieces. Um, had a stronger hold, got into rebuild. So once you tear it out, you got to rebuild it. So did a lot of those.
Mhm.
And that went on. And then got into real estate, buying and flipping homes. That was another piece. Added that on there, and got hit with the 2008 crash, and lost a bunch of money there. And we forget those days, and I want to forget those days because those checks were big.
Well, and realize whenever Nate says forget those days, he means you learn the lessons,
Yeah.
so but you don't actually forget that you forget the pain dulls. So that's what happens over time. So that the lessons live on forever, and that's part of every process
Yeah.
as whatever you do in life. So you have challenges that pop up, you learn from the challenge, and the pain dulls over time. But you do keep moving forward. You take what you learn there so that it doesn't repeat itself in the same way. It's literally what I tell all of my teams. As you're working on a job site, I don't expect to see the same challenge pop up a second time. So
Yeah.
they're one-time challenges. We figure out what the solution to the challenge is, what could have been done upstream to prevent the challenge, and then
Yeah.
put the process in place to make sure that that is the way that it happens as we move forward, so that we don't repeat this and revisit this multiple times.
Yes.